This is the most underrated hack that I feel like nobody is talking about.
If you want to get rich, it really doesn't have to be harder than this.
The math of building wealth is not complicated at all.
Everyone talks about making more money. But listening to these women, I noticed something different. Almost none of them started by talking about money. They talked about changing the way they think. The strange part is, many of them arrived at almost the exact same conclusions independently. Let's start with one that completely changed the way I think about success.
You need to run your shit like it's a fucking kingdom. Money has to have purpose. You are the economy of you. I am the economy of Alexa. Okay, so I have to run my shit like it's an economy for myself. And then the economy stops fucking running you.
That line made me stop. We naturally respect systems. We respect businesses. We respect countries. We respect economies. We understand they need planning, structure, and direction. But most of us don't extend that same respect to our own lives. If you started seeing yourself as your own economy, every decision suddenly becomes more intentional. Where is your energy going? Where is your money going? Where is your attention going? Because economies don't grow accidentally. Neither do people.
One thing I've noticed about ultra successful women that I think separates them from the majority is they do not consistently view things from the perspective of what could go wrong. Because if you do consistently have that perspective, then it will paralyze you from ever taking the risk, starting the business, investing in yourself, going on that date. Successful women almost have a bit of delusional optimism. Instead of letting that fearful voice in the back of their head that we all have win, the one that says, what if this doesn't work out? They say, no, what if this is the best decision I have ever made for myself? What if this works out exactly how I want it to? Failure is not the thing that will stop you from succeeding, because failure is actually a part of the process. The only thing that will guarantee you do not succeed is never trying at all.
I used to spend far more time imagining what could go wrong than what could go right. The problem with that mindset is that eventually you stop taking action altogether. Failure is part of learning, but avoiding action guarantees you never collect enough information to improve. Sometimes optimism isn't pretending everything will work. It's deciding that even if it doesn't, you'll figure it out anyway.
I am 30, I'm a multimillionaire, I own my own business, and I absolutely love my life. And anytime I'm asked about, okay, but how do you do it? Okay, but how? Can you tell us how? This is what it boils down to, is this specific mindset, and having this mindset so deeply you can feel it in your bones. And it is this: I'm either going to get what I want. That's option one. Okay, I'm going to achieve my goal. And then option two is I'm just going to pivot or change, or I just haven't hit that goal yet. Those are the only two options. Those are literally the only two options that I even consider. So it's like, I'm either getting the thing that I want. Amazing. When I do, I'm like, of course, because I knew that was an option. The other option is I just haven't gotten it yet. So maybe, yes, if something comes up, I might need to pivot. If there's a barrier, I might need to think strategically of how to get through it, whatever else. But the only other option other than getting it is that I just haven't gotten it yet, but no worries, I will.
Notice something. She doesn't even entertain failure as a permanent identity. Only feedback. That changes how you respond to setbacks. Instead of asking, maybe this isn't for me, you ask, what needs adjusting? The goal stays. The strategy changes.
You know what I've realized? That nothing is unrealistic if other people have it. Like when you see someone living out your wildest dreams, they had the job, they had the apartment, they had the wardrobe. That's actually evidence and proof that it's possible. That what you're dreaming about, or what you're striving for, is like fully possible to achieve. So you have to stop treating your goals like some impossible fantasy, and instead shift your mindset and figure out like how to get it. So if I was you, catch yourself next time you're saying that's too big, or like that's too far, that's unrealistic, that's not for me. Because remember, it's actually not unrealistic if someone else has already achieved it. Like you can do it too. You just have to start believing in it and start acting like it.
I love this because evidence changes expectations. The moment you see someone else living the life you thought was impossible, your brain loses the argument that it can't exist. It's no longer, can this happen? Now the question becomes, what would I need to do to get there? That's a much more useful question.
I decided that I had to stop letting things be optional. Couldn't be optional. I had to do them. Once I removed options from my life, everything changed, because then success was the only choice. I had to do the hard thing. I had to do the thing that I didn't want to do. It was my only choice. I had to start posting on social media. I had to start going to therapy and healing my trauma. I had to start setting boundaries with people. My success became too important to me to let it be optional.
This connects with something the previous women were saying. Successful people stop negotiating with themselves. Once something becomes optional, your emotions start making decisions. When something becomes non-negotiable, your habits start making decisions. And habits are much more reliable than motivation.
One of the best pieces of advice I've ever received is this, okay? If you make a promise to yourself, you better uphold your end of the deal. I need you to start stacking undeniable proof that you are who you say you are, and that is done by simply upholding your end of the deal. Never break a promise to yourself. Always uphold your end. Make your body and your brain become one. Don't create that cognitive dissonance where you're like thinking you're going to do something and you never do it, or being aware of what you need to do and never doing it. You know how you feel about people who overpromise and underdeliver. Don't do that for yourself.
This one hit me. Imagine someone who constantly breaks promises to you. Eventually, you stop trusting them. But we rarely think about doing that to ourselves. Every promise you keep is evidence that your words actually mean something. And over time, that builds confidence that's earned, not imagined.
If you're somebody who feels like you were destined to be rich, like you were meant to be a lady of leisure, but maybe your life circumstances are not matching that internal feeling right now, this is the most underrated hack that I feel like nobody is talking about. Your goal should be to try and do as little work as possible in order to get to that goal. And no one talks about this because it's very anti-capitalist to tell people like, don't work hard, don't hustle. But here's the way I think about it as a very lazy multi-millionaire. If you are legitimately just unwilling to work hard, unwilling to hustle, but you want to be rich, you want a certain outcome, your mind is going to find the easiest, simplest way to do something. For me, this really looked like embracing the internet, embracing social media, embracing AI, embracing automations, passive income, things that made what I wanted to do a lot easier and more efficient. But there's a version of this that exists in whatever industry you are in.
This completely challenged how I think. I always assumed harder automatically meant better. But harder often just means slower. If there is a simpler way that gets you to the same destination, why would you deliberately choose the more exhausting one? Working smarter isn't laziness. It's respecting your energy enough to spend it where it matters most.
I don't know who needs to hear this today, but if you're not doing something, you're making that thing like too big of a deal. Like whatever it is that you've been wanting to start, if you're not doing it, you're like making it into a bigger task than it has to be. Like let's say you want to eat healthier and you're like, oh, now I need to do like no gluten and no sugar and no saturated fat. Like no, like literally just drink more water. Start with the smallest thing and like get the momentum going. For me, it was starting this TikTok channel. For literally over a year and a half, I ruminated about, oh, what's going to be my content strategy? What's going to be my brand? I need to learn about like trending audios and how to do CapCut. Like, no, I literally hold up the camera like I'm talking on FaceTime and just start talking. And the momentum builds. So whatever it is you're preventing from doing today, just start small. Just do one tiny thing and watch the momentum build.
We do this all the time. We imagine the entire mountain instead of taking the next step. Ironically, once you actually begin, you realize the thing you feared was nowhere near as overwhelming as you imagined. Action usually shrinks problems. Waiting usually grows them.
So this quote, entrepreneurship is realizing that the person you have to become is harder to build than the business itself. When I actually understood what this quote was saying, it made me realize this process of building a business is actually more about forcing me to build a whole new version of myself. So it was no longer just about the marketing ops, upgrading the products, etc. It was, although that's all important, it was about facing the internal challenges that was more important, that would actually unlock the business that you know you have the potential to create. So facing challenges like fear of judgment, learning how to be more proactive rather than reactive under stress, releasing that need for constant control, and so many actually other things.
This might be my favorite one. Because eventually you realize your biggest obstacle isn't the business. It isn't the algorithm. It isn't money. It's the version of yourself that still hesitates, still procrastinates, still worries about judgment, still wants certainty before acting. Sometimes the business isn't changing you by accident. It's changing you because that's the price of building it.
The math of building wealth is not complicated at all. It's literally spend less than you earn and invest the difference consistently over a period of time. And that's the whole formula, okay? But if it's so easy, why don't more women do it? And that's because the math is not the barrier, but their belief system is. Specifically, the belief that wealth is for other people and that building real money is for people who were born into the right family, who went to the right schools, who didn't start from zero, and who don't look like us. And that belief is an entire lie.
If you want to get rich, it really doesn't have to be harder than this. And I'm going to teach you this one thing you need to learn to get your finances in order. Basically, every time you earn $1, I know many people are already planning how they're going to spend it. They start thinking about the thing they're going to buy. Ooh, I'm going to get this new purse. Ooh, I'm going to upgrade my lifestyle. Oh, I'm going to get this new car. The minute they start making a little bit of grub, they're like, I cannot wait to spend it, and I already know how I'm going to spend it. This, my friend, is going to keep you poor. It doesn't matter if you make $30 an hour, $300 an hour. It does not matter, because if your mentality is always around how I'm going to spend it, how I'm going to just like spend this, you will then not save it and invest it, which is actually how people get wealthy. This is why you see a lot of poor rich people walking around, people that drive nice cars, but the moment they lose their jobs, they are totally wrecked. Their whole life is wrecked. They can't afford to stop working. They are the working poor. Just because you make $250,000 doesn't mean you don't fall into that category. So that's my point here, is if you want to change your financial net worth, you've got to attack it from the baseline up. Stop thinking about how you're going to spend the money. Start diligently socking it away and hoarding your wealth. That is how you're going to get rich, and that's how legions and millions of people have gotten rich throughout the lifetimes and throughout every generation of history.
These two clips fit together perfectly. One woman says, wealth is mostly math. The next explains why so many people never get there. Because every extra dollar already has a spending plan. We confuse looking wealthy with becoming wealthy. But they're completely different things. Wealth is what stays, not what disappears.
One of the biggest things that keeps so many people broke is our goddamn egos. You guys need to read The Psychology of Money, but one of the things that I learned, and it just makes so much sense, is when people make plenty of money, they start to buy luxury items. They buy the fancy cars, they buy mansions, they buy on-brand jewelry and all that crazy shit, with this subconscious belief that if they obtain these things, then other people will look at them and be like, oh my God, you're so cool. So they basically do it for outside validation. But studies literally show that when people see someone with a really cool car, really nice house, like all this fancy rich bitch stuff, they don't actually look at them and go, oh my God, like they're so cool. That person is so sick. They look at them and go, I want what they have. Oh my God, I wish I had that so that I would look cool.
This one honestly made me laugh. Because she's right. Most people aren't buying status. They're buying the hope that someone else will admire them. Meanwhile, the people looking at them are thinking, I wish I had that. Not, I admire that person. That's an expensive misunderstanding.
I'm on track to be a millionaire in my 20s, and in order to get here, I had to completely change my mindset. I don't come from money, so my money mindset growing up is completely different than it is now, and these are a couple of ways that it's changed. First one, I started taking the mindset that if it's possible for one person, it's possible for me too. I think this has a lot to do with imposter syndrome. We always think we're not smart enough, we're not special enough, but the older you get, the more you realize that that is so stupid and nobody knows what they're doing. The second one is that literally everything is a numbers game. So if you want to make $1 million, how many units of whatever you're selling do you need to sell in order to get there? For me, my product is $9.99. So in my head, I'm like, okay, if I want to make $1 million, I would have to sell right around 100,000 units in order for me to get there. And then you break that down even further and say, okay, how many views would I need to get to generate the purchases that would get me to my goal? Just remembering that everything is a numbers game makes you feel like you have way more control, makes anything feel possible. Then the last one is that I always take the mindset that anything is possible with consistent work, not hard work, consistent work. The only way that you fail is if you stop doing something. So if you're still actively working toward your goal, you have not failed. Literally anything is possible if you just keep doing it long enough for it to work out.
After watching all these women, I noticed something interesting. None of them were talking about secret investing strategies. None of them were talking about getting lucky. They kept returning to the same ideas. Take yourself seriously. Keep promises to yourself. Think long term. Stop waiting for certainty. Take responsibility. Stay consistent. And maybe that's why these ideas keep showing up. Because success isn't usually one massive decision. It's hundreds of ordinary decisions made from a completely different identity. Which mindset shift changed the way you think the most?